Greetings, traveler. So you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But will you reach it before you are dragged back into the darkness by those who hound you? You think so? I think not.
Hey, sorry.
What is it?
Oh, it's just, I noticed you've been a bit negative.
Right.
Well, we want people to listen to you. You're making it seem more and more like they're desperately trying to escape.
Well,
It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like a quest sort of thing. But the last few have been more of an impending doom sort of thing, you know?
Yes, okay. I'll get it back on track.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's Dead Reckoning, episode 9. Tonight we're talking about AI, a horror film festival, and suspiciously sourced bones.
Join us.
You don't know what I have to go through to get this fucking mic close to my mouth. I've got like a bag full of shit, and I just add more shit to the bag to weigh it down to make it like in front of my mouth.
I'm gonna just put in a dramatic piano.
Oh, do you know what's an issue? I actually haven't got it plugged in. Hang on. Oh, fucking hell.
Welcome to the Dead Reckoning podcast. For tales not only of horror, but of emotion, feeling,
Frustration at the moment.
and heart.
Can we just have this over Kirsty just like talking out loud about her issues, plugging a mic in? Fuck's sake. Fucking microphone. The laptop's somehow updating again.
Okay,
As she looked at the
that should be
time
better.
going up in percents, she realised that her heart was breaking for each percentile that it moved on. When does my life start? And when will the laptop begin? Top restart.
I don't like this.
Oh, see what else we got.
Right, can you hear me better now?
That's it, we've got it now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Have you just got like a soundboard of all these weird things?
I've had quite a big week. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I've had 3 things, so I need to remember all 3. So, first of all, I went to a wedding, which was a goth wedding. It was very exciting. And it was also the goth wedding of a listener.
Oh.
And I know that we said we were going to do, like, listener shout-outs in episode 10, but I think Natalie deserves her own spotlight because she invited me to her wedding, and also we've been friends for a long time. So we went to a wedding in London, and I really liked the dress code, which was wear what you want, which you very rarely get at a wedding. It's usually like wear something uncomfortable that you will never wear again and spend a lot of money on it, and you're like, ugh. So that was great. I wore a full length black dress with gold on it, and I was like, can I wear black to your wedding? And she was like, yeah, I will. Like, okay, good. Lewis wore our mum's coat ball. She had this coat that was quite like, it was too iconic to give away, because me and my stepdad, we both agreed, like, oh, if we saw anyone else wearing this coat, we'd be like, no, it'd be really weird. And so it's been sat in my wardrobe for a long time until Lewis kind of took it out and went, can I wear this? This is cool. And he wore it to his sister's wedding, and then he also wore it to this wedding. And he also wore it to my cousin's wedding last year. It's become his go-to wedding coat. So that's what Lewis wore.
So Lewis's go-to
kind of
coat is
wedding
my
coat.
dead mother's coat.
Yeah, and he
That's a pretty awkward conversation at a wedding, that.
Do you know what? He just sort of
That's a
went
nice
in the.
coat. Where'd you
He
get
was in
that?
the wardrobe. We share a wardrobe, so he was just kind of in the wardrobe, and he was like, "What's this coat?" I was like, "Oh, that's my mum's coat." He was like, "Can I wear it?" I was like, "Oh, I don't really see why not. I guess." The only reason we kept it was because it was so distinctive that it was like you wouldn't want to see anyone else wearing it. But it's 10 years has gone by now, and it's like, okay, you can wear it, and it really suits him. It fits him perfectly, and it suits him really well. So yeah, he wore that.
Mother has chosen you.
In a way, it does seem like that. I know that sounds a bit.
Do you make all of your partners up to date wear that coat? No, take it off and then get out.
She'd be waiting for one that fits.
Well, he just.
It's like a fucking twisted Cinderella story.
Creepy Cinderella. It's a bit too long in the arms. Be gone. Be gone from my home. No, he put it. He was like, look at it, and I was like, yeah, it actually does A, suit you, and B, fit you. Considering you're a man, and this was like a size 14 women's coat. It's owned by a 50-year-old woman. It fits you quite well. So yeah, that's what he wore. And
We're going to need photos of Lewis wearing the. I'm going to call it the death coat for now, so I think there's something better.
Yeah, I'll send some through.
I can't take it off. The buttons are on the wrong side.
Yeah, he got really confused about the buttons, to be fair. Yeah, so he wore that. But so she walked down. It was at the wedding was at a club called Electro Works in Islington. It wasn't like a what you would call a traditional wedding venue. And we were shepherded into this like. Also, I need to add in, and I meant to research this, but I didn't. I forgot. But Brian Blessed, his daughter was the MC and bridesmaid.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was going to look up. I was like, is this horror related? Has he been in a horror film? And I forgot to look. I'm sure he has. But yeah, so we walked in and like Rosalind Blessed, it was, Brian Blessed's daughter, and a lovely lady was like the MC. And as booming and impressive a voice as he has, she's also picked that up. So she was like,
oh, wow.
Welcome all! It's like, hey! And then I said, because Lewis has heard of Roz, because I've talked about Roz, but never met her or seen her. And he went, is that Roz? I was like, yeah, it is. Also, her name's Roz. This was a very Roz-heavy wedding. So
he's wearing the coat of a woman who was named Roz.
Called Roz. Listened to a woman called Roz saying, come to the wedding. So we went into the wedding room, and it's basically the back room of a club. It's all black. Everything's black. Black, black, black. And Natalie's wearing black. Big veil, like, wearing like this kind of warrior queen outfit. And I'm not gonna. I know I'm a music teacher, but I'm not gonna embarrass myself by trying to describe the genre. But it was kind of like electronic, oppressive, kind of boom, kind of like. Poof.
There's our outro.
That was the music, right? It was like, one of these. It's very, very bassy but electronic, and it was like that was what she walked down the aisle to. And it was a very cool wedding. She had some Japanese friends who came in kimono, and she had, like, everyone just wore what they want, and it was a cool wedding. Really had a great time, and she's a listener. So one of my favourite things was that her dad, he was a former travel agent, and I also believe that I might got this wrong. Sorry, John. I believe he sold windows at some point. Like, was he kind of. He was just like a normal dad at a wedding with a moustache and like a suit, and he looked kind of out of place at his own daughter's wedding. The only thing that kind of identified him as part of the wedding was the sort of like dried flower corsage, and otherwise he just kind of looked a little bit like well, it's whatever Natalie wants, and I support her. You know,
This wedding's
it's a
crazy, but I'll
lovely
tell you
wedding.
what's not crazy. My prices on double glazed windows.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Oh, her parents are such lovely people, and they just kind of looked normal, like a normal parents of the bride at a wedding, and no one else in the whole place looks normal in any way. That was
Like people who don't need to be
fun.
told what to wear to a wedding.
Yeah, just like, yeah, it's a wedding, we don't need any help. And it's like, well, I knew that I would have a bit of wriggle room, because normally you can't wear black at a wedding. Like black and gold is kind of like no, it's a non-starter. But I'd seen a dress that I was like, oh, I love that dress, and I had my eye on it, and I was like, oh, I can't justify spending £80 on a dress. That's
Was
a
this
lot of
on
money.
Sheen?
No, it was in a shop, a real shop, and it was in a shop window. And I walked past the shop window.
Window dress.
It had a window, and it was in Chester, actually. Thank
Did
you
your
so much.
monocle fall out when you saw it?
In Chester. No, I sort of like, you know, I just went up to the window and put my hands against the glass and stared up at it. And they were like, get away from the shop, you urchin. Like that kind of deal. I can afford it. I'm going to come back and buy that dress. And they were like, no, you won't, you dirty urchin. And I was like, I'm going to buy it with my own money. You'll see I'm a lady. And I came back and I bought it. Cash. No, I didn't. I bought it on a credit card.
Did this really happen? Or was it just like an episode of Mr. Ben that you remembering wrong? I went into the shop, I tried it on, and then I'm at a wedding.
Get it? I'll send you a picture of the dress. It's a fancy dress, and I looked nice in it, but it was black. So I was like, I can't really wear that to a wedding. And then I thought, I can, because I'm going to Natalie's wedding. Yeah, it was fun. It was a great wedding. So that was number one. Number two, I watched a film called Good Night, Mommy.
Yeah.
It sounds weird coming out of my mouth. I didn't watch the original Austrian one. I didn't know there was one. I just watched it. I just watched the normal one.
Oh, I didn't know there was a different one. Like an American remake, is it?
There's an American remake, and I didn't know there was an Austrian version, and that is not available to watch. So I watched Good Night, Mommy. I liked bits of it. I think it struggled because it changed direction too many times. I don't mind a film with a twist, but there's like 12 twists. It was like, oh, maybe it's this. Oh, maybe it's that. Oh, maybe it's this. And he's like, well, yeah. Which one is it? You know, let's get to that. And it took a long time. And then by the time you sort of go, oh, I get the twist, it's like you've already got a bit bored of it.
I've not seen that version, but having seen the actual real original version,
oh, really?
I can't imagine it being done well by the Americans.
No, I don't think it was. I think basically, so the basic plot is that two twin boys are dropped off at their mum's house. Their mum and dad have got divorced, and mum's an actress, and mum's had some sort of procedure on her face. So when they get dropped off at her house, she has this cotton tight-fitting mask over her face, like she's had a facelift. And the two boys become really like concerned that it's not really their mum, because her behaviour's wrong, she's irrational, she's doing things she never would have done before, and they become convinced it's not their mum, and they tie her up and try and escape, and they get caught by the police and stuff. What I really enjoyed about it, which I'm sure is probably done better in the Austrian version, was that it's from a kid's perspective, and kids, they have very limited information, so they make massive leaps in their brain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of so a little thing about, I mean, it's all done from their POV. So when they're like, they're unreliable narrators. So when they're like, yeah, mum doesn't smoke, mum doesn't do this, mum doesn't do that, and you're like, oh shit, that mustn't be their mum then. And then when you sort of get what happened, which is a big twist, you realise like, oh right, that's why she's doing all those things, because she's in trauma. and like they don't know their mum as anything but our mum. Also, she's an actress, so there's parts of her sort of personality and who she is that they don't understand is not real. And I did find all that quite effective, and I quite liked it. But there was just a few things that I was like, yeah, it's not gonna. And sort of at the, and if you're gonna watch it, don't skip forward 1 minute. But at the end, where the mum dies, but then she falls, and then in a barn, and the barn goes on fire. But it's like I don't know of any kid who wouldn't try and drag her out of there. Like if that's the kid's like supposed to be about 10, and mum's on the floor, and the barn's on fire, and he just kind of fucks off. He just goes like, "Oh fuck it, see you, mum." So what?
The ending of the proper Austrian one is absolutely iconic, and it is a much more gruesome finale.
Oh, wow.
That's really lame.
So
in comparison.
Well, it's just really frustrating to watch.
Maybe he was scared of barns.
He wasn't. He spent a lot of time in there, and she kept having to drag him out of the barn. Like she didn't like him being in the barn.
Stop, Jimmy! You know you're afraid of barns.
Why is there ropes hanging from the ceiling? Toilet paint cans.
But it just seemed really disingenuous at the end to see this kid, like, who's not a 2-year-old or a toddler, or like a sort of the same age as our brother Paul, like 10 years old, just seeing his this barn's on fire, mum's on the floor, I'm just gonna fuck off and get on with my life. It's like, no, you would obviously try and get her out, even if you couldn't, and you were trying to drag her. You do something. He just doesn't. He just goes, oh shit, and runs away. And that kind of is strange, like, because they've made up by that point, and he understands her. It's not like he hates her and he's scared of her anymore. So yeah, I found that very odd. And then as soon as I kind of watched it, I was like, nah. And then when they said, oh, it's based off it, I was like, oh, I want to watch that then. I want to watch the Austrian version, but I can't find it anywhere online. So, but I'd like to see it. Yeah, so that was the film I watched. And then thirdly, we gave out a film award this week at a film festival. All right, so on Wednesday this week, we were at the Dead All Day Short Film Festival, which is all horror films. I went to one last October, just a couple of days before Halloween, and it was great. They showed 10 short films from around the world, and then there was a vote, and there was an audience award, and then they did it again. So my friends Rod and Peter have done it again in April, and we sponsored an award. We sponsored the Dead Reckoning Best Film Award. They have an award which is a duck with a knife, which is it's about 12, 13 inches, and it's pretty impressive, and it looks like a proper award. And that's what they give out for best film. And then next to it was like my 5 centimeter little cup with a little pumpkin on the front and a little plaque that was like Dead Reckoning's best film. And it was like
we didn't want to overshadow the actual award.
No,
is that the point you're trying to make?
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to have a big fancy award that everyone's like, oh, wow, is that for the winner? And you're like, no, this is for our winner.
My mate Bob, he said, it's almost like a participation trophy, but with winner on it.
Yeah.
But spell your winner.
Well,
Y-O-U.
The person who won it was very pleased. Was very pleased to receive it. So
that's good.
We sort of all picked ones that we liked, didn't we? And then we decided on a winner. And the winner that we decided on was a documentary called Gentlemen of the Club, which I just loved because it was so retro. It was like a satanic panic documentary. It had some just
very well done,
brilliant lines. I loved where you've got this this middle class lady, and it's like Audrey, former Satanist. It was funny, but that was all real, but it just was funny the way that it was put together. And I love some of the phrases, like when they're interviewing the guy in the occult store, and they're like, "So, are these all black magic?" And the guy's like, "Well, you'll find that some of the more efficient witches are using some of these types of spells." And I'm like, efficient witches. I love that. Not these witches that waste their time. Efficient witches. And I'm messing around. I just loved the whole thing. But like, it did get quite dark at one point.
Like Roger Cook trying to grill him like he's a cowboy builder or something. He's like,
Yeah.
you exploit people for the benefit of Satanism. Like, I've never exploited anybody. You ask me, the one thing that's exploiting people is the Catholic Church and their dogma. It's completely closed-minded to the likes of me.
Yeah, I really liked it. I like the effort that was made. So, and I've made documentaries before where you've used archive footage, and it's so hard. Like, it's really hard to make documentaries with just archive and like balance it and get everything right. So I know how hard it is, and it was that's Gentlemen of the Club won our award. The others that, do you know what? I don't want to sort of identify any because I do feel bad. It's hard to make a film, full stop. But something that I found common to a lot of them was that they forgot to have a story. So you watch it, you go, "Oh, this is beautifully shot, nice dialogue, good cast. What's it about? What's the story? What's the plot? What's the ending? What's happening?" And I felt like a few of them had that issue, that they looked amazing, but they had no discernible plot. And that was what was missing on a lot of them for me. Like, what the fuck happened? Did this just end? I liked one of my favorites in the that we watched was The Companions, the Spanish film.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that because I really enjoyed it. I didn't see it. I couldn't work out what was going on. I did like guess the ending before the ending.
Yeah, it's like a Sixth Sense thing. You're like, oh yeah, I see.
But like when they just sort of when the woman just starts singing, I was like, what the fuck's happening? And then they all start, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what's going on. And then you go, oh, right. And it was just so well done and so surprising. And I thought it was really, really well done. I liked, there was a couple that were a bit derivative of other things. And I liked Eileen Dietz was in the film The Last Sonata, who was from The Exorcist. And I was like, I know that woman. Why do I know that woman?
That's where I recognise her. That was my first note of that movie.
Yeah, but she's got one of those. I just felt like she's got one of those faces. I know she's been in something, and she's obviously she's a stunt double and from The Exorcist, and she also is the demon face that comes up. But I really enjoyed it. I had a great night. It was good, really good event. I love that like little towns like Runcorn just like randomly have 2 horror film festivals a year. Like most places don't have that.
Yeah.
Most places don't have one, and we've got 2. So it was a really good night. Great venue. Like obviously these guys work so hard, and they've written and produced films before. So
I think the one that won their award was the film called Breakfast, which is quite a good feat of physical comedy. It's like a man like fighting himself.
Yeah.
And he's constantly trying to pull his hand off stuff and like getting his hand stuck in the toaster and fighting like an invisible ghost. But it's a silent film as well.
It's like a Simon Pegg sort of thing.
There's only really like one line through the whole film. The rest of the time, it's just a man like frustratedly trying to have his breakfast while fighting with a ghost.
And that won the award, and it's also in one of the official selections for Rilla Thriller, which me and Jed are going to soon.
Yeah.
Those guys. It is in real.
In real.
The guys from Rilla Thriller were actually there as well, and so they offered to come on the pod actually, like be guests on it.
Oh, great!
It was a really good night. It was really nice to see so many people coming out and watching short horror films. And although I do think we've talked about this like last week before. the problem is not the ability to make a beautiful looking film anymore. The problem is some of them have no plot and no story, and they just end, and you don't know, and it's like, what?
Almost like a certain trailer that was also featured. Yeah, looks great. What is it?
We'll just do like gluing castles together, like it's got a derivative plot. They know what they're talking about.
But yeah, it was great. It was really fun, and we're gonna sponsor another award at the next one in November. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Hopefully this time we'll be able to get a bigger corp car.
This time, well, do you know what? Someone else can pay for it then. They're expensive.
We'll do.
Maybe we should all chip in towards the trophy because they're not cheap. You know, I thought they were.
We'll start putting some money away now, just a little bit each week.
Well, we'll make
change that tab from centimeters to inches.
Yeah. I was like, wow, what a bargain! And then when the thing showed up, I was like, it obviously came in a box, and the box came, and I was like, oh no, what's in the box? Please don't let it be a tiny award. Oh, it is.
That was when I got my Creature from the Black Lagoon figure. The first box that came was the size I expected, and it turned out to be Melody's trampoline for her birthday. And then when I got the second box, I was like, oh, this is going to be a whole thing.
See, I did this on purpose. I bought a tiny award in reference to your issue with the Swamp Monster that you got. It's all an inside joke. It's anyone who's listened to the podcast would understand.
So one thing I really appreciated about this festival was, so instead of the usual thing of sitting down at night and watching a horror movie, for the hour and a half, I sat down and watched and rated all these 8 different short film submissions, which was
fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a nice change, and it was a lot of fun. It was a real event for me, so that was good.
And maybe for the next one in November, you could fly over, Paul.
Calm down.
Well, you know, when I added my little speech and I said, oh, my brother Paul couldn't be here because he's in Australia, so I went, no excuse. And then I had to also tell them that Jed couldn't be there and he lives in Frodsham. And then I had to reveal my address in an effort to show them how far I'd come.
I walked here.
I walked here.
I can literally see my house from the smoking area.
Yeah. My house is the smoking area.
I was here anyway.
And that was my week in horror.
Right.
That was a good week in horror, Kirst. I think that's your best yet.
Yeah, right. And I've got some stuff to come in Needful Things as well. That's good. So.
That's from Lewis, like Norman Bates around in Roz's coat.
Yes.
I'm just going to start my week in horror. So one of the films I watched was I believe it's just come onto Shudder at the moment, but it's actually, even with it being on Shudder, it's not actually got a Wikipedia page, which is quite impressive for something that's been out for quite a few weeks, which is months at this point, which is Baghead, which is it stars Freya Allen. She's most well known for being Ciri in the Netflix series The Witcher, but the whole premise of the film is so strange. Like, it doesn't really explain much about it. It's not really very plotted out, but it starts off with her dad, who's played by Peter Mullen from, Train Spotting and all sorts of various other bits and pieces. It's basically, if you need a nasty Scottish man, easy go-to fella. He's basically, I've never seen him in a film where he's been anything other than an absolute bastard. Like, nasty Scottish man. It's like literally Peter Mullen's he's the go-to guy. You go to cast an agent and go, we need an absolute horrible Scottish bastard. Like, I think there's a film I've seen him in as well where he literally kicks a dog to death. So it's like I think that's Tyrannosaur. But yeah, he's their father in the film, and he owns a pub, and the pub has a creature that lives in the basement that's basically in the shape of a woman, and if you can like bribe it to bring back somebody from the dead, it's like a shapeshifter or something. It's never really fully explained exactly what the deal is. Something to do with like if it escapes, there'll be, the end times or whatever. But basically, the girl played by Freya Allen gets corrupted, thinking that she can use it to her advantage. But obviously, that's not going to happen. One of the main things is though that's kind of disconcerting is the minute she finds out she's got ownership of this creepy pub that also has like a monster in the basement. She's like, yeah, I'm just gonna kip here on the sofa, just on my own and that. Just gonna chill. It also never really explained where the pub actually is. It just looks like it was filmed on some like random lot somewhere, but lots of creepy shadows and messing about and stuff. But it's definitely one of them ones where you watch it probably maybe once and then you file it under that was all right, but not exactly amazing. But it's just a general sort of jump scare thingy. But it's certainly one to check out if you have chance. But Baghead, starring Peter Milan and Freya Allen respectively, is all right. Just a bit of a jumpy, weird one. That's one of the films I watched. But
I was going to watch that, but it doesn't get very good reviews at all.
It took me 2 attempts to watch it when I was like trying to eat my dinner. I was like, stopping every 5 minutes, going, "Oh, I need to cut that bit of food up a little bit more intensely." Needs to just pause it here so I can get a better grip on it with this fork. Like, ugh.
What were you eating?
Ostrich?
Never you mind.
Get a better grip on it.
A fully uncooked carrot. All I'm eating at the moment. I'm
like Bugs Bunny.
like mid-depression binge, just like cutting up a fully raw carrot with me like 2 forks, not even a knife, just having holes in it until it yields.
Yields, you damn carrot.
But yeah, I also decided that I would rewatch Alien this week because if you're a nerd, it's celebrated once a year that on the 26th of April, people watch Alien, and they also re-released it this year in cinemas because the planet they land on in the first 2 Alien films is LV 426. So we watched Alien all the way through again.
I've been watching it on the 42nd of June. I feel like a fucking idiot.
Lousy March weather.
Makes so much more sense to do it that way around.
I love in some like 70s and 60s films how they think that computers would have looked like in the future. There's like people in the 22nd century with like literally green screened computers. But the computer core in the the Nostromo just looks ridiculous. Like there's a whole room of dials and like gauges. It looks like something that Alan Turing made in a warehouse. We need more valves.
Yeah, they never assumed that we would have full colour
on
a screen. It's like, it's still going to be green on black, basically, isn't it? It's like, even in 50 years, like, what? Why would it be? You don't know what happened with television. It went from like black and white to colour. Like, and that was the progression. Yeah, but this is not. In 2020, like 2024, it'll still just be green letters on black. That's how it's going to be.
But I predict that within 100 years, computers will be twice as powerful, 10,000 times larger, and so expensive that only the 5 richest kings of Europe will own them.
Unlike 2001, where they absolutely nailed it, and they're all taking the video calls from their family, the colour video calls.
I know, yeah. Stanley Kubrick definitely had some wizard insight on how things would have been. Arthur C. Clarke, generally, where it was 2001 that was sort of written by him, he had a lot of hand in a lot of future guessing. I think there's an entire like almanac of things that he guessed on, even like satellites before there was even such a thing. Like guessing about satellites and space probes. But one of the funniest things we're looking back on Alien, especially with the computers, is that like the artificial intelligence on the ship Mother is just basically like a really bad Siri. Like,
you know what it is? It's Siri, but with my accent trying to use it. That's what it is. No, don't do that. No, don't send this. No, don't do that.
You have selected $24 dues.
I set our Google Home to give us the weather in Fahrenheit, and it does Lewis's head in.
He should learn to convert it to Celsius in his head like every normal person.
And today he was like, "Hey Google, how warm is it?" And she went, "It's 50 degrees." And he was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake. What's that in real temperature?"
He comes back in after a couple of hours in Mum's coat, beet red, sweating.
He just goes out in he goes out in his underwear going, 50's a lot. Lewis, what are you doing? You can't walk around like that. 50's so high, I thought I was going to burn.
Well, it's just so many LEDs as well in the computer room. And things about any 80s movie that has people using a computer just has the wrong way that people were using it. It reminds me of in The Fly, like the 1986 film The Fly. It's just veering off to another tangent, but there's a bit where he literally has to type in his commands. He's like, "Did Brundle absorb fly?" And it goes negative. It goes fusion at genetic and cellular level. He's like, "Why?" And he's like, it's like literally just getting like a fax telling him how fucked it is. Like, shit, man.
I had this conversation with my dad about AI. Do you remember the Acorn Electron? Well, yeah, me and my dad. Well, my dad talking about AI, but we had a game on the Acorn Electron called Tree of Life, Tree of Knowledge, sorry. And Tree of Knowledge, you basically fed it all of the information, and then it quizzed you on it, which was completely pointless. So you'd I remember putting loads of information about neighbours in, because that's what I knew about. And then it was like, quiz. And it's like, "Hey Kirsty, who is Charlene married to?" It's like, "Scott, I just told you that like 10 minutes ago. I told you that." And this is what we were saying. That's all AI is. Like, we tell it stuff. And then it goes, "Hey, guess what?" You're like, yeah, I told you that though. "Yeah, but I know this." It's like, "Yeah, but we told it to you." So
that's just like having kids. Hey, did you know? Yes.
"Hey, guess what?" Yeah. It's like that's when Colin is like reborn in What We Do in the Shadows, and he's like, "Hey, guess what? Hey, guess what? Hey, guess what?" And he's like, "Shut up, you whore." That's what we were saying. Like all of this like AI panic, we've already just given it this information. It doesn't know anything new. It doesn't really. It's just kind of like maybe this could be a train station, and you're like, no, because it doesn't have any. Look, there's no electrical supply to the train. Yeah. I see the conductor there. He's got 12 fingers. That wouldn't be real, would it? And it's like, yeah, I'm not very good. I'm not scared of AI. It's stupid. It's fucking dumb. It's just taken what I told it and then fucked it a little bit.
It's too busy trying to distract me without advertisements for fake gambling websites, and it is like trying to take over the world. Like, would you like to invest in Bitcoin? That's like, oh, I don't know what it goes. Would you like to annihilate humanity? It's like Bitcoin.
As a teacher, the idea that you just like spend your whole fucking life telling someone something and then they turn around to your face and get it wrong really assertively, that's kind of my entire life. Neil Peart was the drummer in Chicago. No, he wasn't. I've told you this. Jeff Picaro invented the guitar. No, he didn't. Fucking hell.
You describe it like Michelangelo's David and you get him back some 6-fingered freak.
That's exactly. Honestly, from all my lessons this year that I spent a lot of fucking time doing. Karen Carpenter was a bass player, and she had bulimia, like sort of. No, sort of. No, remember she was a drummer. Oh, drummer, yeah. And she went to the moon. No, that was a different lady. She did not go to the moon. No woman went to the moon yet, right?
She was the fourth drummer on the moon.
She wrote the code that got Apollo 11 to the moon. No, that's different. That's a different woman. She wasn't the drummer in the carpet. I know I've told you a lot of stuff this year, but it's not interchangeable. It's like fucking playing Cards Against Humanity with their fucking brains.
Karen Carpenter is my favourite person for very questionable reasons.
I love how she got bulimia, but then sent us to the moon. No, she didn't. She played the drums.
It's like Futurama, where they're trying to where they go to like the museums and things. Whalers on the moon.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I took a group to a museum in Liverpool called the British Music Experience, which is like it's like starts in the 50s, and it's got like it was just so funny because like you kind of think with them having access to the internet, they kind of know everything, and they were like walking around, and they got these 16-year-old boys going, "Oh my god, who's that? She's fit," and it's like, that is Petula Clark. Who is she? She's a singer. She's fit. Like, okay, yep, all right. Can you get anything else from the exhibition? And then they saw the so one of the exhibits is the door of sort of Apple, where they used to go and try and get to talk to the Beatles, and the actual front door they used to like go outside it and write on it. And this kid was like, "How did they get it here?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "How did they get that door from London to here? That's not the real one, is it?" I was like, "Yeah." How did they get it here? I was like, and then his mate just went, "They took it off the hinges and put it in a van." And he went, "Oh yeah." It's like, oh my god.
Seems reasonable.
I meant the museum to be challenging, but not in this way.
I'm just going to fail you now. There you go.
He was so excited, but also so baffled about it. I was like, do you know how a door works? How would they get it? They must have had to dismantle the whole house. No. No. Do you know what your door at home does? If you, I don't know, just like, yeah, okay, that's terrifying that you don't know how that happened.
Right there reports, "I had a wonderful day out at the Door Museum."
I learned so much about doors.
Sorry, Jed, we were talking about doors.
Sorry.
In conclusion, I watched Ridley Scott's Alien.
Where we started.
Like, on the subject of doors, Ellen Ripley throws the alien out of an airlock, and then that concludes the film.
How did they get the airlock on the ship? How did it
They built space around it.
They built space around the door. It's the only way.
I remember though, from looking up some bits and pieces, obviously when the original cut of the film had the alien killing Ripley, and then has the alien like interpreting her voice, like send out the distress signal so they can infect another ship. But then they were like, "That's too dark." Plus, we were like, I want to like have the possibility of a sequel, so they changed it up a bit. But I would have been so weird. But yeah, I watched that because it was a special date for it. Also, they're going to be re-releasing it in a few years as like a proper remaster to coincide with the 50th anniversary. So that should be interesting. I'll watch it every year, and all the other sequels, including the one with the prison with all the British people, like Alien 3 is just British people in a prison.
It's such a good movie.
Don't be going in them fucking airlocks. the original cut of Alien 3 had it bursting out of a cow instead of a dog. But then they were like, it's supposed to take on the physical characteristics of whatever it is. And he's like, do you want a cow alien or do you want a dog alien? And he's like, he was just like there with like 2 models in each of his hands. He goes, cow, dog. Kind of like the cow though, but yeah.
I'd have to write in a scene where they try and milk it, but it's acid.
You don't know these things. They're dangerous. They have hooves and really big horns. Watch out for the tongue. It's like sandpaper. One of my favourite facts about it is that to cut down the cost, there was a bit where they have like a giant set, and where they have like a giant set, and they have they want to make the astronauts look small. So Ridley Scott just got his own kids in for the day. They just made a smaller set, and he just put his kids in spacesuits. Like just walk over there for the daddy. What's this monster in the chair? He goes, don't look at that, just look ahead. Act like you're on the moon, kids, and you can have a toffee crisp.
Isn't it like my kids? He would have just been screaming across all of the cast, for fuck's sake, just walk forward. It's a simple instruction.
That gives me flashbacks to watching Roadhouse with Conor McGregor trying to walk like a human. Just walk. You know how walking is? No, I'm going to do this instead. Why are you doing that?
My week in horror, I was asked to make a video trailer to advertise the podcast. And I was like, how do I make a video trailer of an audio-only podcast? I don't have any content whatsoever to post. Like, this is just coming out of thin air. So I was like, struggling to think of things, how to do it. And then I thought, oh, I'm being so stupid. AI. So I went on AI animations. Yep, absolutely. You just tell us what you want and AI will generate it for you. I was like, oh, great. Okay, well, how about, and I wrote a little storyboard and I said, well, how about it starts with like, I'll do all the classic like Hammer horror, like the classic monsters. And I'll have like Dracula coming out of a coffin or something. So I was like, it says, just describe what you want in here. And it was showing amazing things, like massive, big, long scenes that it can do. And I was like, oh, well, this is simple. Castle dungeon, Dracula comes out of a coffin. Oh, my good God. And it was a Homer Simpson moment where I was like, okay. And I got all these bizarre, weird animations. And there was always something, even the ones that kind of worked, so it was completely unusable, but it was like, it was a coffin in a dungeon. And I was like, well, that's a start. Maybe I know computers, maybe we can start there and I'll figure out how to get it to produce something more like what I've got in my head. But then I noticed the coffin, on each panel of the coffin, there was some weird face. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And there's always something bizarre just inserted in them somehow. Like it's, I don't know. There was one where I said, oh, a swamp monster or something like that. A monster coming out of a swamp. And it'd look okay. And then you'd notice something bizarre in the background, like another weird head with an umbrella over it or something. You're like, what the fuck have you put that in? That wasn't the instruction. Where's that come from?
I'm being creative.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't any part of the instruction that could be misinterpreted. It just wasn't in there, and it's just put it in itself. And I'm like, but you can't do that. So where's that come from? So after many attempts with many different AI animation, I was like, oh, fuck me, okay. Back to the drawing board. So I ended up painstakingly crafting these figures out of cardboard, 3D figures out of cardboard.
Paul, do you remember what I actually originally said you should do?
No.
You are so old that you don't know what a lyric video is.
Correct.
I was like, just do a lyric video. And you're like, what is that? I said, well, you have the audio. And
you didn't explain it to me. You just made fun of the fact that I didn't know what a lyric video is, and then it will be an uphill struggle, quote unquote. No further information was given.
I was like, just...
Trying to type in us talking like a stenographer. Alternatively, you could have just like cut out pictures of us and then made our mouths move like Monty Python.
So Kath was right. I did bite off more than I could chew again. She's like, you put yourself in these situations.
Yes.
It's like he's already mastered it, and Kath goes, have you thought about a QR code? A Q what?
Yeah, that was it. It's like the original message, which was a bit, it was obviously a bit of a joke as well. I was like, I just wrote, look, I don't know how to advertise this at all. I don't know if there's a link or something. And I was like, ask Kirsty or Jed. They're there somewhere. They didn't help with this at all. And Kath was like, oh, that's quite funny. Why don't you just put in a QR code like and scan with their phones and it'll take them to the thing? And I was like, shut up, Kath. Oh, wow. So anyway.
A lyric video was what I was thrusting at. And then I saw it, I was like, how the fuck has he done this? This is not what... This is like too much. Where's the clips? There's no clips. There's nothing to say what we've already done. It's just like, here's a weird monster. Watch the podcast. A trailer is supposed to show what's like, I don't know, what's gone before or what's coming up, or give you an example.
It's a horror podcast. It's monsters. What's it about? Monsters, probably. Yep.
It's not
correct.
about monsters, though, is it? It's not about
now
monsters.
scan this QR code. It'll take you to some Amazon tab I was looking at. Bulk socks.
Now all I want to do is recreate film trailers in the style of Paul doing a trailer for Titanic. It would just be like, every night in my dream. And then just like a paper boat going, fuck off through the ice. And then no one helped me. And then a QR code.
I could be spending time with my kids.
One of the movies I watched was Late Night with the Devil, which I was
want to see that. I want to see
very
it.
excited to see. I really wanted to see it.
Are you going to ruin it and tell everyone?
No. I'm not going to ruin it. I'm just going to say, because it's one of these movies where my only note is that was fucking awesome. Really good.
I really want to
really
see it.
Good movie.
It's like Ghost Watch in America.
Yes.
Hey, okay. Sold.
Yeah. Which is funny because I also then was searching everywhere for Ghost Watch, and then Jed helped me out with a copy of Ghost Watch because I was like, I've got to watch Ghost Watch now. You know when a movie starts and they put up the studios that were involved in making the movie from a financial perspective usually, and the more you see, the more you think, okay, they didn't have any money. Sometimes you'll get like an indie movie and it'll have like 4 different studios come up at the start of it. And you're like, oh, God, okay, is this going to be good or is it going to be a mess because they've got no money? This movie, as good as it was 1 minute 43 before the movie starts, and it was just one after another studios involved in the making. 9 different studios.
Wow.
And it's to the point where I was like, oh, my I grabbed my phone. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy.
They make you watch the idents as well, like the ident logos, like the videos that come up. But then they list them in the opening credits as well, but the font of the actual things, like presented by, and then you get it all again. That's for fuck's sake.
There's a joke on Family Guy, isn't there, where he's like, Peter's sat down and he's like, okay, we're on a ship. We're going towards the show. And it's like big old ship productions.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like, all right, that was just the ident. Okay, here we go. We're on a road. There's a car driving. Oh, it's like car driving productions. Like, oh, shit.
So at the start of this film, IFC Films, okay. Shudder, yeah, okay. Image Nation, Big Screen, Good Fiend, Cinetic, AGC Studios, Future Pictures, Spooky Pictures. And I'm like, come on. Just ask the first 3 to give you more money. Like, that's ridiculous. 9 of them in a row before you get anywhere. And then when the movie starts, for a good couple of minutes, you're like, is this another one or is this the movie now? So that was my only gripe. But the movie itself, absolutely fantastic. Really, really good.
You just like writing down the names of the contributing studios while you were like, what is the film? You're like,
because I'm an old grouch. And I'm like, get me that pen and paper. I'm going to write all these down. I'm going to complain about this to somebody.
Dear production company, please remove 4 production companies. P.S. I am not a crank.
the standard logo length is no more than 5.5 seconds, but yours happens to be 12.75, which I personally think is a tad excessive, if not a little bit indulgent.
It's like I'm sat alone in my apartment, 12 p.m., dogs barking. 1:30 p.m., dogs barking. So I'm going to leave it there for my week in horror.
It was failure and anger.
Yes, that's my week every week.
Sometimes anger comes first and then failure. That's what I like to change.
But they're always hand in hand.
First one on the retro roundup on this is continuing on through the 80s. So this would start in 1987 and then concludes the 80s part with 1989, which starts off with The Monster Squad. Now, The Monster Squad, directed by Fred Decker, is probably it's one of the films in the 1980s which I like to call "Where the Fuck Are Your Parents," which is a trend from was the trend that you see in films like The Goonies, Explorers, and laterally in a bit more serious tone, Stand By Me. It's basically like, where the fuck are your parents? It's always kids up to some mad adventures in the 80s. Like, there's no parents around. There's going to be some shit going down. And you would see the poster for the Monster Squad and you would think, oh, the Monster Squad. And it's about Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the werewolf, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Is the Monster Squad that group of monsters? No, it's not. It's the group of kids who are going to get the monsters. But yeah, it's definitely one of them films where I reading into a bit about the Monster Squad. One of the things that I found quite interesting is that basically Universal Pictures it was basically made by committee, as Universal Pictures saw the Universal Studios saw the Goonies and how popular the Goonies was in 1985, and then they were like, kids going on a pirate adventure, and it goes, we need to make something like that, and they're just like, let's just throw every single creature that we have into the film. Basically, all the Universal monsters team up to try and get an amulet, and then see the also the creature from the Black Lagoon is called the Gillman. Yeah. Like what? But another thing is that apparently the guy who played the Mummy, like the casting call for the Mummy in the Monster Squad had one of the most offensive advertisements ever, and it was like, looking for a relatively tall, exceptionally thin man bordering on anorexia. Like, this is verbatim the advert that they put out in like a casting call magazine for the Monster Squad was like, borderline anorexic man required.
If only Javier Botet was around then. That's basically him.
Like Doug Jones was just too young. Yeah, the Monster Squad is certainly. It was overall. I mean, the Monster Squad was a commercial failure when it came out in cinemas, but it was on the very cusp of VHS becoming a sort of worldwide success story. So in the 80s, so as soon as it hit VHS, the Monster Squad was a bona fide cult classic, if not one of the first sort of major cult classics to be influenced by VHS. It's certainly one of the more sort of interesting, silly movies with a bunch of kids. The thing is that at the time, they had a bit of a rights issue with Frankenstein's monster, and one of the things was that they didn't. The look that was Boris Karloff's Frankenstein was sort of trademarked by a bunch of different places. So that's the reason why Frankenstein has bolts in his head rather than his neck. That was the way they were just going to make him a different colour and put the bolts in his head. But yeah, the Monster Squad is definitely. I mean, I would generally hope that anyone listening to this podcast has seen the Monster Squad at least once. But even if you have kids, it's definitely one of them ones where you want to show them to, because it's still got sort of spooky, sort of creepy themes for it, but it's genuinely quite a harmless movie.
I like how none of the cast were like in anything else. You know, sometimes you go, oh, cool, and that person was in this film, and you look like through all of these, pretty much everybody's in it, and it's like, yeah, they're not really in anything else. The only one I can find is Jonathan Grease, who plays the Wolfman, is Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. I really like that. Is that such a
Tom Noonan, who was
Tom Noonan,
Tom Noonan, who was Frankenstein. He was been everything. Most famously in RoboCop 2, where he's Kane, the drug dealer, which is probably his most. Oh, he was Dollhide in Manhunter.
Yeah.
I always find that Manhunter. I always like to feel when you watch the Michael Mann version of Manhunter. I always like to feel that William Peterson's Will Graham is just Gil Grissom before he joined the FBI. Before CSI, he was just like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I love the Monster Squad. Amazing.
It's one of the movies where it's like a feel good Halloween movie, but it's definitely one to check out if you haven't seen it already, and if you haven't, why haven't you? Moving on to one of the other films from the 80s, which is 1988's Pulse. Now, Pulse isn't more or less very well known, but it's written and directed by Paul Golding. The whole premise of Pulse is that like electricity is like this. There's basically a power surge at a power plant, and it turns out that there's like a sort of malevolent, like electrical being that's like living in the power grid or something. And it keeps like going from house to house, like terrorizing people and causing like electrical disturbances at people's houses. Joey Lawrence, who's the kid who's the main kid in it, he basically goes to stay with his like divorced dad. He moves over to there, but they've got his bedroom done up. And he's got literally a full size race car bed. I was quoting The Simpsons the entire time I was there. But as well as that, is like the setup of the film is just as one of like the weird. It's like his stepmother, like she goes through the film like trying to make him feel at home. But the day he arrives there, because an old man who lives across the street has been killed by the electrical like monster, she basically goes, "Oh yeah, you would have loved to have been here last week, David. We had all sorts of commotion. There was a fire engine, multiple ambulances, like the police and the TV cameras were all over there." And he's like, "What happened?" He goes, "The man across the road was brutally murdered in his house."
No.
Plus, there's a bit in it as well where he goes into his house. Well, he goes into the house that's been attacked by the electrical demon, and the minute he's in there, this like creepy old man, played by, I think it's Charles Tyner, literally falls down from the ceiling in the building. Like he's not outside; he literally falls from outside the building. He just falls from the roof of the building into the front room, and he's just like dressed as like a 1930s detective. He's like, "Hey kid, you got to be careful in here." It's like, what the fuck is he doing? He's just like a creepy old man with a little boy in a house alone. Plus, the dad in Pulse is actually played by the dad in Flight of the Navigator. So he's the kid's dad in Flight of the Navigator at the same time. So that's one of the ones where it's like he was like the 80s sort of disconcerting, slightly shit dad.
He looks like Mark Ruffalo's dad.
He does, yeah. He's definitely not. But
he's not.
Someone find me Mark Ruffalo's dad. He was like, "Why don't you look like him?" But things that stood out. I mean, 1988 had a lot of really good horror films. But the reason I picked Pulse out of most films, I mean, it's got all sorts of different things you could have picked. You could have got Dead Ringers, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Hellraiser 2, all these different films that were out at the same time. But the reason I picked this is that when I was younger, this film was advertised as coming out. Like, it used to take ages for a film to come out on TV. So we had Sky in like the very early 90s. And I always remember Pulse being advertised at like the first time it was going to be on Sky One. It was like, it must have been like 1991, or, it'd take like 4 years just to get to terrestrial TV. I always remember staying up late and like just sneaking downstairs and watching it and being terrified. I mean, looking back at it now, it's probably a bit shit, and it isn't one of the best films. I mean, end of the film, after they've like blown up a bunch of boxes in the house, so the electrical demon gets out, ends up going into like a Felix the Cat clock. Like its eyes glowing. The dad just goes and unplugs the clock, and it's like, yep, that'll do it. Aggressively trying to put down a telegraph pole, and the police are like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
There's also a very good Japanese film called Pulse from 2001, which is a horror sci-fi, if you get confused.
Yeah, but this is the 1980s one, which is, it also has a kid who has a cracking haircut in it. The kid who has a proper 80s bowl cut with like a massive fringe. It just looks like a middle-aged woman. They're like, don't worry about them. They won't bully you because you're skateboarding. They bully you because you're weird. Pulse is definitely one to check out, but it's something I remember watching in very, very, very young, when I probably shouldn't have been watching a film like that. But it's one of the first horror movies I ever watched, so it's certainly something that stuck in mind enough for me to bring it up when I had the chance to. So, moving on to 1989, this is more of a comedy film, but it's Joe Dante's The Burbs.
Yeah.
It's a very early Tom Hanks movie. One of the things I just want to mention, just going into The Burbs, is that I actually forgot a lot of the stuff that was in there. So the basic plot is that it's just a general suburban sort of cul-de-sac. They have these new neighbours move in, which they're called the Klopex. And they're obviously just a general odd...
vaguely European family.
Yeah, vaguely European family called the Klopex. When I was doing some more research into The Burbs, the general gist is that the think that the family across the family just moved in a weird and, through a general conceited and strange, sort of silly plot twist, it turns out that they actually are weird, and it wasn't. They weren't just like imagining things. But a few things that are quite interesting, considering the plot, is that the Klopex house was actually the monster's house that they borrowed for the film. The film was shot on the Universal Studios lot. And sometimes in some of the scenes, you can actually hear children screaming, and that was actually because of the Jaws ride that was in the background. And the set used for the cul-de-sac in The Burbs is the cul-de-sac from Desperate Housewives. So it is literally the same set. So if you were to watch it back now, it's literally the same set. But one of my favourite, this has to be, I will elaborate a bit more on the plot in a moment. I'm just going to pop it into the chat that is a little dog in The Burbs who features quite prominently with one of the neighbours. Now, I'm just going to post a picture of the dog. Now, this is a poodle. If you were wondering, where have I seen that dog before?
I was wondering that.
Queenie the dog in The Burbs was Precious in Silence of the Lambs. So she's a multi-horror superstar.
Is that why the dog gets billed higher than Tom Hanks?
Totally. Also, in the original script for that they went into the production shooting with, Tom Hanks is actually the character Ray Peterson, played by Tom Hanks, is actually brutally murdered by the Klopex. But when they cast Tom Hanks, they decided to retool it because they thought nobody wants to see Tom Hanks brutally murdered. And of course, this is 80s Tom Hanks. So this is Tom Hanks on his absolutely critically wild beginnings.
I like that when you look at the Wikipedia entry for Darla, the dog, it says she's a Bichon Frise, best known for her acting role as Precious in The Silence of the Lambs, a film which earned the Big Five Academy Awards, as if the dog has something to do with that.
It's a key role.
Ooh, like
He was also in Erie, Indiana. So this dog is literally in all the cool
Really?
things. Yeah, she was in
I
Erie,
love
Indiana.
Erie, Indiana.
she was in Batman Returns as Ratty Poodle, which I don't think she would appreciate that. I think she'd have been like, "Excuse me, mammy,
Thank God she can't read."
Yeah, I don't want to be Ratty Poodle."
But yeah, The Burbs is one of them. I always remember this being on like ITV on like bank holidays, along with like The Money Pit and like Batteries Not Included. It was like one of the Tom Hanks films that the BBC and ITV keep in rotation. Tom Hanks was on an absolute roll these few years. So he made Big, The Burbs, and Turner and Hooch in the space of like 2 years. So those are still some of his best films. The Burbs is one of them. It's one of them films where it's just so 80s. It's like everything about it is just absolutely ridiculous. You got Bruce Dern being like a militaristic neighbour. Also, The Burbs has the late great Carrie Fisher as Tom Hanks' wife, which I completely forgot she was in this film, and then she like shows up in it, and like she rarely showed up in a lot of films, but when she did, she was always sort of there in the background. But I completely forgot that she was in this as his wife. But yeah, I think Joe Dante was on an absolute roll in the 80s around the time that he made The Burbs as well. So I mean, he made literally Gremlins, Explorers, Inner Space, The Burbs, Gremlins 2.
Dick Miller is in it as a garbage man as well.
Oh yeah,
he was also he's been in everything. All of those movies you just said, he was in.
Yeah,
well.
you can't have a Joe Dante movie without Dick Miller showing up in some part. Like, he has to be in it. This is something that completely slipped my mind, but I need to mention about The Burbs before we move on, is that because Corey Feldman was friends with Michael Jackson at the time, one of the things that he used to do that pissed off everybody in the set is that he actually brought Bubbles the monkey to the set on multiple occasions, and he was literally kicking off and like robbing stuff from craft services and throwing shit everywhere. And Joe Dante and like his management had to literally ban Corey Feldman from bringing Michael Jackson's monkey to the set because he was causing a ruckus. That is the end of Retro Roundup for the 80s.
It's the toys.
Demonic toys. Playtime has begun.
This is a rubber duck, which is supposed to be Matt Hooper from Jaws. All that struck me about it is that it just looks like you kind of like, okay, so this guy, this doesn't have to be Matt Hooper from Jaws. This is just a guy whose favourite band is Tame Impala, who likes IPAs, and like
craft beer enthusiast.
Yeah, and will tell you all about things that you are an expert in a bar. he's a mansplaining New England IPA drinking, like a neckbeard Tame Impala fan. It doesn't have
You know what's funny? When I looked at it, the first, like before I saw the Jaws thing, I was like, "Oh, that's funny." It's the crushed cup in his hand.
Yeah. When he crushes
That's
a
it.
little.
That's the thing that ties it in.
Yeah. It's just a really lame effort at making a Matt Hooper doll, which is also a duck. It's just so shit. I don't know why they did it in the first place. Like, he's not a very memorable sort of, in terms of visuals, he's not a memorable character. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I just don't even know why they've bothered to make this thing. But then I looked at it and I was like, unless you're a really big Jaws fan and you were like, yeah, like you noticed the fact that he's crushing a polystyrene cup in his fist, I don't think you would go, oh yeah, it's Hooper from Jaws. I think you would just go, that's a nerd, isn't it? It's an annoying nerd.
I reckon they were looking at the model on their computer and they were like, I tell you, but it could just be anyone. It's not. And they were like, wait, what if we...
Wait a minute. I like the idea of one of them just taking their glasses off and rubbing their temples and going, there's some way we can do... Wait a second. The cop.
They just pause the movie. Look, right there.
You're a genius. And that's my toy. It's just a weird, like...
they've reduced the cost of from £14.95 to £6.95. But arguably, you'd still need one of Roy Schneider and Robert Shaw because, like,
That's
I wouldn't
probably
feel
why they
comfortable-
reduced it.
I wouldn't feel comfortable just having the one on his own. That way, if he had the other two, you'd be like, oh yeah.
And also,
I get
is an issue for me. Like, if you did have Hooper, and you did have Brody, and you did have Quint, then the other character from Jaws that you would want is Jaws. Are you going to make Jaws into a duck? Because it's got no clothes. It's just a shark, right? So how do you make the duck look like a shark without just making it a shark? It's not like Jaws has got a fucking t-shirt on saying I'm a shark and a hat. Do you know what I mean? It's only identifiable by the fact that it is actually a shark. So I don't know how you would...
Thank God we're not in the middle of this mess.
I think I'd be the person who was like making this argument in the room, and then when I got out, someone would be like, I thought you were going to back me up in there. You're the Jaws fan. Thought you'd be backing me up in there on the old Jaws range. Did you hear my comments though, Alex, about, why we're not doing this? Did you hear my comments about the fucking polystyrene cup? Alex, have some sense. Do you know what I mean? I know we're all working hard. I'm a massive Jaws fan. How the fuck do you do Jaws as a duck? Unless it's a duck wearing a shark outfit.
I can only imagine this is exactly what went on with these people before the price was reduced to $6.95.
That's my toy.
Do they have any of Mrs. Kinter? Just angrily going, where's you let my son die?
With the black veil on. I heard that a girl was killed here last week, and you didn't do anything.
All right, Jed, what have you got?
So just there's a really good store that I found online, which is called madabouthorror.co.uk. I was just browsing general merchandise, and we just literally on their landing page, we've got an amazing little lamp that's like Slimer, but that's not the that I was, because Beetlejuice is just about to come out. Well, Beetlejuice 2 is going to come out in a few months. I was just looking at random Beetlejuice merchandise, and they have these amazingly little cute plush toys, which is the Maitlands, the Maitlands in their like spooky, and they're in like spooky costumes, but it's just like it's a cuddly, scary Adam and Barbara Maitland.
That's fantastic. Oh, I love the eyes on the fingers.
Yeah, they're cute.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But,
look at the eyes coming out of the mouth.
On that website as well, there's also some cracking little random things. There's as part of the Beetlejuice collection, they've got a lamp that's like a sandworm. So you just it's like a light up lamp that's like a curled sandworm. But just browsing just general toys, just found two little plush spooky little creepy things. I just want to get both of them before the film comes out, just so I can sit there and watch them. I'm like, don't worry, you're not in this one, but you'll be in the next one. I like Baldwin watching from behind bars. Like, I couldn't come. I was on bail.
By the way, sorry, my duck was also from madabouthorror.co.uk.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Amazing.
I don't know how much longer this is going to go on for, but I've got retro ones from my childhood again. There were so many. Like I said previously, any time of year, if you go to kids' toys in the 80s and early 90s, it was all horror-related monster stuff. I don't know why there were so many of them. But one of them was Horror Pets. And I think it was just a pull back and let go car kind of thing, except they had scorpions and tarantulas and all kinds of things.
Mm.
So there's all different ones you can get. They're generally all insects. But there was those. There was, these are the ones that I loved as well, that were, it's kind of like, was it called Polly Pocket? It's like a clamshell thing and you open it and there's dolls inside. And they did horror ones of those. And they had like skulls and snakes and things that had all the toys inside them.
Oh, Mighty Mac. The other side a really sort of like an after-school cartoon. It was
Mighty
dead
Mouse
cool.
Shells. And they were all horror characters, and they had all the little. So inside it was like a little diorama, and you got the little tiny figures that you could show him.
I always remember thinking that the owl who always told him what to do in Mighty Max was a fucking prick. He's like, you need to calm down and you need to suppress your anger so you become the chosen one. He's like, shut the fuck up. He wants to go and kill some mummies.
And then finally, Monster in My Pocket. And this was like a little packet you get. I feel that it had some sort of sweet or something in it, but maybe not. And it was like a top trump card of the monster, a little like rubber mold of the monster. And then, of course, the catalogue of all the others you can get. But it was like a little, like at the checkout, like collector's card sort of packet that you would open up, and you get a little monster, and it's like top trump's card as well.
I spent probably several weeks worth of pocket money on these things regularly.
Yeah.
It was many Saturday afternoons spent slowly watching a square of like talc type powder dissolve to see what monster I had inside.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing, being a parent now, going into like cleaning up like kids' toys, and you find something like this and you're like, can we just throw these out? You've got like 4 of them. But then remembering back to when I was a kid, that would be the worst thing you could possibly do to me, would be to find and throw these things away. Took effort to collect these. They were treasured.
Put them in a box and then in 20 years sell them and send your kids to college.
Yeah. Or do what I did and just sell them immediately for next to nothing.
Someone said before, it was his Pogs were like popular in the 90s because O.J. Simpson recently passed away. Someone was going viral because they were selling a OJ's in the Slammer retro slammer Pogs. O.J. Simpson behind bars, and just like, if you want an O.J.'s in the slammer, for $90.
Welcome to Needful Things.
So going back to my so for Needful Things, and I know again we were doing shout outs for listeners in the next episode, but one of our listeners, Ego Rodriguez, is an artist. He was at the wedding with me. I've known him for ages, and we got chatting, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I really want podcasts to listen to." He's been listening, and also Ego's an artist, and he creates these like brilliant illustrative like pieces, and he's also got a shop. So the shop is Ego Rodriguez with a Z .threadless.com, or if you just Google Ego Rodriguez shop, it comes up. But he does these. He does a lot of horror related stuff. So the ones that I've just put in the chat, he does a T-shirt of Nancy Downs from the Craft, who's played by Fairuza Balk. He's got a Carrie T-shirt, a Morticia Adams. He's got Audrey Horne from Twin Peaks, Krampus, and the one I quite like is like, it's not an actual character. It just says Pumpkin King, but it's just a guy with a pumpkin. It's like, yeah, I'm the Pumpkin King, but they're all really cool illustrations.
They are.
And also so you can get these off his Threadless shop, and also he's a listener. So that's my first needful thing. They're cool awesome horror T-shirts. Yeah, they are, aren't they? Aren't they cool? And then also, which I've literally just, this is slightly less accessible if you want to buy it, is, okay, I was on Instagram, and there is an account that is tarantula_tastic_enclosures, and it's a guy who does custom horror-themed tarantula enclosures.
As if you needed to add horror to that.
Well, yeah, it's already horrific to have a tarantula, but he makes these enclosures, so like he makes lots of different. They're all like film related. He does like Nightmare on Elm Street one. He does Halloween one. I've just put in the chat one which is called Buried Alive, which is just like a sort of screaming skull.
Yeah.
Rather than the tarantula like lives in it. And obviously the tarantula doesn't know what his house looks like, really. He's not making the connection. Do you know what I mean? He's like, oh, I get it. It's a reference to Halloween. Nice, yeah. He's just enjoying his little enclosure. He did a Catacombs of Paris one. So if you've got a tarantula or you're thinking of getting a tarantula, unfortunately that is one of the pets that, I mean, we were talking about, do we get another dog? But it's like, dogs need looking after, and you can't really travel. You have to look after them all the time, or you have to. So I was like, maybe we get a different pet. What if we got like like Lewis is deadly afraid of spiders. just for a giggle, I was like, what about a tarantula? He's like, fuck off. We're not getting a tarantula.
There's a 90% chance that our friend Sylvie has this already in the shopping basket before this article is finished. I was went round to hers when I was younger, and she's like, do you want to meet Chili? Walks in, and she's like, massive tarantula around. I was like, no, I don't. Jumping out the window.
When I was about 8, my friend's brother had a tarantula, and I was going round to her house, and she was like, "Oh, if you're not careful, you'll have to hold the spider." I was like, "Bring it on! I love the spider. Let's hold it." And I used to quite like the spider because it's just like a little kitten. I think it's got little funny legs, and then it sort of crouched down. You put it on your hand, it'd crouch down, and then it'd go run, like it was sort of tricking you. And you'd be like, "Oh, you cheeky spider." I liked having the tarantula on me. But yeah, if you've got a tarantula and you want it to have if you want to show it off to your friends, and not just a normal enclosure, in a horror related enclosure, then a tarantula_tastic_enclosures on Instagram.
Makes all the difference.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to be very cheap. I imagine they're more expensive than my house. I couldn't afford to live in one of these tarantula enclosures. I could just afford a 2-bedroom house in Runcorn. That's it.
I couldn't afford to live in a tarantula enclosure.
No, these are clearly very expensive. I know that. I do like there's a oh my god, there's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre one. It's just got full on Leatherface hacking his way through a forest, and then in the background you just kind of see this tarantula just kind of like chilling out on the wall. It's like,
I'm not involved.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what this is.
So these are on Etsy. These are
free,
and you can get these in a lot of forms, but old VHS horror movie cassettes as magnets, which is good. Cool. So remember, I did the one where it's a light, and it's basically just a VHS tape with some LEDs in it. So you'll see this and they'll do them as rugs and curtains and clothing and everything, just old VHS boxes. But this is the one I've seen that I would actually own and use. The magnets. And then there's Tune In for Terror horror cards. I don't know if these are a reissue because these were like an old school thing. But they're just trading cards. Like I was looking at them and I was like, well, what's the point? What's on it? What do you do? But it's just a trading card set. But if you can find someone else who also has Tune In for Terror cards to trade with, you're doing very well. I think you just buy the whole set and they're just nice to look at.
Please don't get them for my nephew and make him a weirdo at school. Like Australian rules football stickers. Don't make him go and go. You got any retro monster cards to trade? No, Finn. Go and sit by yourself in the corner.
Because what regional cricket player card have you got? I've got South Queensland's favourite bowler. Oh, I was hoping for an all-rounder. Any batsman? I've just finished a set of classic Testman umpires.
I would like to suggest that Jed's cricket knowledge is now currently at its thinnest. That it's like it's been stretched so far. It's about to snap.
Cricket.
Just say the word cricket.
Cricket.
I said cricket. Like an awkward pause. I've got a few things. I'm just going to share a link to. So first off, on my needful things, I found this absolutely insane store that is called Curiosities from the Fifth Corner, but it's also it's run by a guy called Henry Scragg, and he basically runs this store that sells mad collections of human oddities, but he also does mystery boxes. And you can buy a mystery box of human bone.
I've already added that to my cart.
Human bones mystery package for £100. It goes medical mystery package, various prices available from £75. But one of the first things that he did is he posted, or I was just going through his Instagram page when I first found out about him. His Instagram has another bunch of share it to Messenger, but his Instagram page has a whole bunch of other stuff. And one of the main,
He's got a Hotmail email for his business.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the captions on his stuff, he's got this. He's selling this foot at the moment. And the caption on the listing is perfect for those that like feet, sliced bread, and plastinated products. This is a plastinated and sliced foot.
Is he saying these are real bones? Because I think that's illegal.
These are legitimately real bones. Yeah,
You
he sells
can't sell
with
real
all sorts.
bones. You can't. You're not allowed. How is he doing
I
this?
say that to take that up with Henry Scragg.
I'm just reading the description, and it's like it's if you would like a certain type of bone included, please send a message with your order. Femurs I don't tend to sell separately, as I use these for crafts. What? No, you don't. You're not allowed.
Well, he's
Where the
taking
fuck are these
orders
coming
on
from?
stock he doesn't have. I would be concerned about what his supply is. Walking around.
I'm just going to go into the FAQs, right? I'm just going to the FAQs. Is this disrespectful? They are over 100 years old for the law and respect of the living. I mean, that's still only like 1923. That could be a fucking war veteran. Do you know what I mean? Saying like, it's over 100 years old. That's the one who's fought in the First World War, and now his fucking bones are being sold on the internet by this lunatic.
If you, in the question, is this disrespectful? If you have a good read of that.
What gives us the right to farm animals? Because they're not humans. It's different. It's kind of different. They're just digging up someone's bones.
I think it's a lot more ethical and resourceful to experiment cosmetics on life sentences and then even harvest life sentence criminals rather than pay for them to live in prisons.
I like this.
They have useful organs, skin that can be made into leather, and flesh that could feed the starving. Ooh.
Have you seen the
Wow.
I would just like to say that the Dead Reckoning podcast does not condone any of the actions
grave robbing or
advertised or promoted by Henry Scragg of Great Lee in Essex.
It says, is it legal to sell bits of dead people? And he goes, basically, yes.
Basically. In a word, yes.
That is not, as I need a bit more than that, I think. As long as things are over 100 years old, ethically sourced, and with, how do you ethically source a body of someone who died in 1922? How do you do that?
Got a spade.
There are various acts and laws to follow, but with these basic steps in mind, all is legal. I don't actually believe that it is legal. Where the fuck are they coming from? Where's he getting the bones?
Just to move away from this obviously quite disturbed individual that I seem to have stumbled upon yet again. If you want a little bit more of an ethically, so if you want a bit more of an ethical form of decor for your house, you can go to the next on my Needful Things, which is a website called the Black and Teeth. The Black and Teeth do Gothic interior decor for houses. It is quite on the pricey side, sometimes in the region of up to £700 or £800, but some of the items that they sell are absolutely magnificent, including a full skeleton lamp with lampshade. They also sell things like random stands for hallways that are just like skulls holding bones, and sort of Santeria-inspired pictures with skeletons in frames. Just everything that
It's like a Perfect Circle music video.
Yeah, everything that they do is just a complete. It's just like a complete, absolute, glorious affair on the senses. It looks like something that you would have if you wanted to build your own Addams Family mansion from scratch. Like if you had everything that was.
They have a section just for femur bones.
Yeah, all sorts of things like candles that are made to look like anatomy candles as well. So you can buy candles that are like spines or hearts. I just want the full skeleton lamp. It's a full skeleton mold, but these bones are taken from actual bones and molded. So these are not dug up people like that psychopath in Essex. But yeah, it's £175 in British pounds for the full skeleton lamp without the shade, and you obviously go up towards sort of £300 for the ones that look a bit more sort of ornate, and they come in a variety of varied sizes, but generally sort of a Baroque style, bit more of an opulent style to them. But that is the alternative if you don't want to have to, go to this guy and ask him to get his spade out. And just put some gold leaf on someone that he's found in a hole. But and I'm going to wrap up my Needful Things with a bit more of a light-hearted thing and moving away from corpses and having a skeleton. This is something that came up with suggested ads on my Instagram feed, where it's
I don't know. I don't want to know.
The website. I can assure you that it's fairly mundane. But this is from Sockmania, and Sockmania has a current sale on with a variety of different horror themed socks. For the moment, it's got the twins from The Shining. Chucky the doll from Child's Play. It's got Beetlejuice. 2 Beetlejuice, not 3, which is quite disappointing. Why would you need 3 socks? Because it doesn't make much sense to have 2 of them. They got Freddy Krueger, Pennywise, the Bill Skarsgård version, Ghostface from Scream, The Exorcist, Michael Myers, Jason, and there's a lot more others on there as well. But these are more sort of horror themed socks. But if you ever feel like you want to get you spooky on, but also have nice warm feet, this is certainly somewhere to go. I like the way that the twins are slightly different as well, so you can tell it's each individual twin.
Those are great. I like this. I like just the normal designs. After all, the movie ones are pretty cool as well.
One's just broccoli.
Well,
I've actually got the Tim Curry version of Pennywise as well.
For real purists, I don't want no Skarsgård socks. Yeah, it's Pennywise modern. It's Pennywise classic.
like Coke classic.
Like if someone was coming round and you had 2 skeleton feet on your mantelpiece, you could just put the socks on it really quickly to disguise it. And that's just how I display my socks. Okay.
Is that a foot cut up to look like slices of bread? No.
No. Not if you don't want it to be.
That's how I keep all my feet. I just use it to keep the shape in my shoes. Why couldn't you buy inner soles? And he goes, shut up.
Oh feel like that's where the music's gonna.